At 2:34 a.m. Eastern Time on March 14, 2026, the USS Gerald R. Ford CVN-78, a 13 billion aircraft carrier carrying over 5,000 sailors, was 41 nautical miles northeast of the Strait of Hormuz in the Gulf of Oman when the screen lit up with something that should have been impossible to coordinate. 68 inbound Iranian anti-ship missiles, launched in staggered waves from coastal batteries and mobile launchers. The escorting Arleigh Burke-class destroyer tied into the carrier's air picture as its N/SPY-6 radar began building tracks at extreme range, enough to start a countdown before the first warhead even cleared the horizon. The crew had minutes. The Aegis system would have to pick what dies first. What happened in the next 18 minutes would change U.S. Navy protocol forever. This is that story. The U.S. Navy was in the Strait of Hormuz corridor because that choke point is the world's maritime pressure valve. Narrow lanes, dense commercial traffic, and almost no margin for error. The U.S. Fifth Fleet, operating out of Bahrain, had one mission that overrides everything else: keep the sea lanes open, deter harassment, and prevent Iran from turning shipping into leverage. In the weeks before this scenario, Iranian state outlets were pushing a familiar message: any pressure will be met with pressure. But the pattern at sea had shifted: more drones in the air, more small craft shadowing shipping, and more exercises advertised as missile readiness. The strike group didn't panic. It adjusted, and it moved anyway. But Iran wasn't bluffing this time. Iran's advantage isn't tonnage. It's geometry and saturation. The IRGC Navy trains for asymmetric warfare, swarm attacks with fast craft, coastal anti-ship missiles, drones used as decoys, and submarines designed to hide in shallow, noisy waters. The U.S. has seen how fast the Gulf can go from messy to lethal. In 1988's Operation Praying Mantis, after the frigate USS Samuel B. Roberts struck an Iranian mine, the United States conducted a major retaliatory action involving multiple warships and carrier aircraft, an engagement that included missile exchanges and decisive U.S. strikes against Iranian naval assets. Tehran remembers that history. It doesn't want a fair fight. It wants a confusing one, where the defenders' sensors and magazines are the bottleneck. Tehran had a plan the U.S. Navy hadn't anticipated. The centerpiece was the carrier, USS Gerald R. Ford CVN-78, a moving airbase with a strike package that could launch F divided by a -18 E divided by F Super Hornets, jam with EA, 18G Growlers, and coordinate the entire battle space through the E-2D Hawkeye. The escorts, especially an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, brought the hard shield, Aegis with long and medium-range interceptors. The strike group commander, call him Commander Hayes, had a reputation for grinding crews through the worst case. Drones mixed with missiles mixed with surface swarms, with rules of engagement tight enough to make every decision hurt. At that hour, the political atmosphere was razor-thin: sanctions, proxy conflict, and allies watching for a crack. At 2:34 a.m., everything changed. The trigger was a radar picture that didn't behave like harassment. A junior radar operator, Petty Officer 2nd Class Maya Torres, noticed the first clue: the decoys weren't trying to hide. They were trying to be counted. Then the E-2D Hawkeye called a phrase nobody wants to hear in confined waters: multiple inbound salvos. Torres watched the track numbers multiply and realized the strike group wasn't being overwhelmed by speed. It was being overwhelmed by choice. This wasn't a drill. The E-2D Hawkeye locks the picture first. Multiple inbounds, high-speed, sea-skimming profiles. The destroyers and /spy 6 radar begins generating firm tracks and handoffs. Threat count: 68 missiles in staggered waves. Starting distance: 41 nautical miles. Speed: varying, some near supersonic, others subsonic sea skimmers meant to hide and clutter. On the bridge and in combat, the first order is blunt, battle stations. Then the second order, weapons tight, confirm before fire. Because the Gulf's oldest trick is forcing you to shoot at ghosts. Distance countdown: 41, 36, 31 nautical miles. Aegis goes into full prioritization. The escort begins assigning engagements while the carrier launches its airborne screen. 2F divided by a -18 E Super Hornets launch immediately, climbing to intercept anything that isn't a missile and hunt the platforms feeding the attack. Behind them, an EA-18G Growler spools to life. This is where Iranian mistake number 1 appears. A chunk of the inbound tracks are tied to drones and decoys, targets that are loud in the electromagnetic spectrum, designed to pull interceptors early. Distance update, 32 nautical miles, about 90 seconds to the first impact window. The strike group's defense is layered. The long arm is the RIM 174 SM-6, a high-end interceptor designed to reach far and kill fast targets at range. The middle layer is the RIM 162 YSSM, built for high-speed threats closer in. If anything leaks through, Phalanx CIWS is the last-ditch gun system, designed to shred a missile in the final seconds. And the whole thing is glued together by Aegis, sensor fusion and fire control that turns multiple ships into a single defensive organism. But here's the brutal detail. Each high-end intercept is expensive, and magazines are finite. Distance update, 18 nautical miles, 60 seconds to impact. Commander Hayes had 3 options. Option 1. Missile defense only, survive the first wave, risk draining munitions for the second. Option 2. Immediate counterstrike on coastal launch zones, risk escalation and misidentification. Option 3. Electronic warfare, jam guidance, spoof seekers, force misses. High risk, but it preserves missiles. He chose option 3. Here's why. Iran's plan only works if it can see clearly enough to commit. If the seekers lock, if the cues hold, if the timing stays clean. Hayes decided to break the timing. The EA-18G Growler begins jamming and deception. On the surface side, the destroyers and /SLQ 32 electronic warfare suite comes alive, detecting emissions and pushing countermeasures. The ship also launches Nulka decoys, which hover and draw seekers away from real hulls. The missile tracks don't disappear, but the behavior changes. Some inbounds wobble, some drift, some lose the clean geometry of a coordinated strike. Distance update, 7 nautical miles, 30 seconds to impact. For 12 seconds, the radar screens show chaos. Tracks split, merge, reappear through clutter. The Hawkeye's voice tightens. Possible seeker reacquisition, standby. In CIC. Hold, confirm hostile. New inbound, bearing change. Decoys active, seeker pull. Distance final, 2 nautical miles. Impact imminent. The group commits to hard kills only on confirmed threats. YSSM intercepts punch into the closest credible inbounds. At least one missile is dragged off axis by decoys and splashes harmlessly. Others die in the middle layer. The final line, Phalanx CIWS spins up for anything that breaks through, but the worst of the salvo has already been bled out by deception and disciplined fires. Outcome: the majority of inbound missiles are intercepted or defeated by countermeasures. U.S. status: no mission-killing damage, no catastrophic hit. Exactly the outcome Iran could not afford. Iran had made one catastrophic error, assuming the U.S. would respond with missiles first, fast, and wastefully. Instead, Hayes attacked the guidance chain. By prioritizing Growler jamming and /SLQ, 32 electronic countermeasures, and Nulka decoys, then firing ESSM and SM-6 only when tracks were firm, the strike group forced Iran into the worst possible position, a massive expenditure that couldn't reliably lock. The battle lasted 7 minutes. The consequences would last years. Within hours, the Real fight moved into classified rooms. Not to celebrate, but to answer one question. Was this a one-off, or the opening move of a new Iranian doctrine? According to defense officials in this fictional scenario, the strike group collected a gold mine of electronic signatures, drone control links, coastal radar emissions, and comm bursts consistent with distributed queuing. The goal wasn't just attribution, it was mapping the network behind the salvo. And that's where Tehran's internal problem begins. If the plan depended on synchronized targeting queues, and those queues were jammed, then someone inside the IRGC chain either overpromised capability or underestimated U.S. electronic warfare. This decision would haunt Tehran for months. Why the U.S. strategy worked. Number 1. Discipline under saturation. Aegis teams held fire until tracks were credible, preventing magazine panic. Number 2. EW first, missiles second. Electronic attack broke timing and seeker confidence before interceptors were spent. Number 3. Decoy effectiveness. Nulka created alternate best targets, pulling seekers off the strike group's center of gravity. Number 4. Air picture dominance. The E-2D Hawkeye extended detection and classification beyond shipboard horizons, compressing Iran's surprise window. Iranian tactical failures. Number 1. Predictable decoy behavior. Decoys that are too consistent become easy to label. Number 2. Over-reliance on centralized cues. Jam the node, degrade the strike. Number 3. Failure to force close range. Without compressing distance, the U.S. gets time to layer defenses. Number 4. Betting on U.S. overspend. Iran expected expensive interceptors to be burned early. In this scenario, the IRGC Navy scrambles to control the narrative. A public victory video never materializes. Messaging turns vague. Internally, the blame hunt begins because a failed carrier strike isn't just a tactical loss, it's a prestige wound. Israel watches closely because Iranian drones and missiles are a daily concern, and modern jamming lessons travel fast. Saudi Arabia reads the outcome as reassurance that the sea lanes can still be defended under pressure. China studies the engagement for the same reason every major power does. It reveals what modern Aegis discipline and electronic warfare look like in a confined maritime funnel. Russia takes notes on the political response, how quickly the U.S. signals deterrence without opening a broader war. This engagement is now case study number 47 at the Naval War College. One brief reads in the fictional aftermath because it demonstrates a shift. The decisive weapon wasn't the interceptor. It was the decision-making architecture under saturation. New protocols follow. Earlier EW employment, stricter confirm-before-fire discipline against decoys, and tighter integration between Hawkeye track management and shipboard Aegis engagement orders. The Strait of Hormuz is where deterrence is measured in minutes. Iran's strategy is to make the cost of staying feel unbearable. The U.S. strategy is to prove the cost of trying is worse. And it all circles back to the opening. 2:34 a.m. Eastern Time, Gulf of Oman. The carrier nearing the Hormuz corridor, where the strike wasn't won by bravado, but by refusing to be rushed into the wrong kill chain. So here's the question, and it's not just for the comments section. It's the exact kind of choice a commander could face in the real Strait of Hormuz. What would you have done in Commander Hayes' position? Option 1. Keep missile defense only. Protect the carrier now, risk draining the magazines later. Option 2. Counterstrike coastal launch zones. Risk escalation, risk misidentification. Option 3. Bet on electronic warfare. Jam and deceive first. Fire only on confirmed tracks. Drop your answer, 1, 2, or 3, in the comments and tell me why. If you want more inside stories of U.S. Navy operations the media won't show you, carrier strike group tactics, Aegis missile defense, Fifth Fleet pressure campaigns, hit that subscribe button. And if this story shocked you, smash that like button. It helps us bring you more declassified style breakdowns without the fluff. Next time, a Virginia-class submarine slipped under the Arabian Sea, and Iran's Ghadar crew never knew what passed beneath them. You won't believe how that ended.